Hello and welcome to another episode of BlackLantic. This is season 2, episode 11. Unfortunately, Hillary couldn't be with us this evening, but my name is Clinton Davis, and make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Follow us wherever you get your audio podcasts, and of course, you see us here on YouTube. Hit that like button, leave a rating, a comment. It really helps out. We really appreciate it, and I'm very excited to be interviewing our guest today, Lucinda from Hairy Ideas Salon. So we're going to play that intro and then get us started. Hello, Lucinda. Welcome to the show. How are you tonight?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being available. I know you have a really busy schedule. I know you have a really busy week coming up that you can tell the listeners about in a little bit. And there were even, as our regulars know, a bit of technical difficulties today, but here we are, ready to get into it. So you are a hairstylist who has been practicing hair in the Moncton area for 30 years. And,
Yeah,
you know,
33
what?
years.
33 years.
33 years. You got to
My
count every year.
apologies. Yeah,
33
3 years
years.
ago, I was 31 when I saw the comic strip of you on CBC, which was really awesome and fun to read. It's a great way to get to know someone.
Sean Clater.
And,
Yeah, that was awesome.
that's right. I'd like to see more of that in the future. Is he doing that like on a yearly or regular basis?
He's doing a lot. He's an artist actually. He is a
Okay.
painter, but he has now started this comic series that he's been working for CBC. And I think he's writing a book or doing he's in the midst of a book right now, like a graphic novel, I think.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. Well, if you want to see
Mm.
Lucinda in comic strip format after the show, just type in Lucinda Hairy Ideas CBC, and that'll pop up. But let's get into you.
Okay.
Tell us about where you grew up.
I grew up outside of Moncton, about 20 minutes outside of Moncton, in a little community called Hillsborough, if you're familiar with this area. Very small community, predominantly white, well, mostly white. And back then in the early 70s, I think I was one of 4 Black people, 5 Black people in the area. And the other 4 was in one family. So then there was me. So yeah, a very small community. I was adopted and raised by a single mother, adopted at birth, actually. I'm mixed. My mother is white, and my biological father is Black from Bermuda, actually. And I ended up in a little place in Albert County, which most people would think would be difficult for a person of color. What I will say, it was not for me, actually.
That's
They were very
amazing.
welcoming.
That's amazing, and I've read that about you, and yeah, I think a lot of people would be surprised. We've learned not to be surprised by anyone's story because hearing stories like that is the goal. That's the goal. Like that's the
Exactly,
goal,
yeah.
right? When you try to imagine a world of equality, or where I don't know your exact story, but equality, and where people wherever they grew up, no matter who they are treated well and don't experience a lot of negative things, which what it sounds like your experience was. That's the goal, and we would never
It
want to
was
question
very
that.
positive. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, yeah, I'm happy to hear things like that. What was life like growing up in Hillsborough, Albert County,
You
as they
know,
say, right?
Albert County, I'm an Albert County girl. It actually, you know what? I think what made me a little bit more interesting is that my mother was the first single woman in New Brunswick to adopt a child. And it was in the newspapers, and we were a bit of a celebrity. So I think that may have helped people accept me more. It was like put Hillsborough kind of on the map kind of thing as her being the first single woman in the province to adopt a child. Yeah.
Wow, how interesting! It's there's so many firsts that happen in New Brunswick, and I mean that there had to be a first time for that too. But that kind of gave you and your mom a bit of celebrity status. You're saying so.
Hmm.
I mean, not to say that they
Yeah.
wouldn't have to begin with, but that kind of made you both like icons that needed to be protected. No?
Right. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think so.
I
And I mean,
yeah,
it
great.
was, you know, uh, I guess I would say that the community was, I don't know whether I'd use the word naive, but they hadn't experienced any people of color really. They didn't know how to behave. They really weren't, they hadn't already learned how to be, I don't know if I can use the word racist, but I think they overlooked the color of my skin. It was such an interesting story.
Oh, your connection, they overlooked the color of your skin and what? Sorry?
Because of the story that was behind the adoption process, I think that was more predominant to them than the fact that I was a mixed race baby.
Okay. Well, I hope so, and I hope it's not only that. I'd like to think that the people you happen to be around would have been, um, treating you and your mom amazing anyways, and we've heard many stories where that isn't the case in these rural areas. But
Hmm.
I mean, my mom's
Hmm.
from PEI, and I grew up. I went there every summer, and I never had an issue out there. And I know, know a guy from Amherst who went to high school and didn't have any issues there. He had a great high school experience. So it really varies. It depends on the community, and it can only take a few really rotten apples to ruin something for someone.
Yeah, that's true.
Um, but yeah, so New Brunswick has, my parents first came out here in '99, and I stepped foot in New Brunswick for a few days, and I was like, nope. It was not for me. The fear, the looks that I got, like I was in Riverview, and I swear people were like backing away from me out of fear in that little plaza that like was the Minix Plaza, and it wasn't a good feeling. But you know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I it wasn't for me. My point is though, New Brunswick has always been a very homogenous culture, and so naive and ignorant, not by choice or by will, but just there's something to be said for like exposure to cultures and things like that, which didn't
Hmm.
happen in New Brunswick. So it did lead to, in some cases, and still does, really hateful racism. But in other cases, like you said, just people had to learn how to be
Yeah.
around you, just experience that
Hmm.
something was different.
It's true.
Um, so, but your mom was a great support, for you in that. I've read. Do you want to tell me a little bit about? You want
Yes.
to tell about your family or your background? I mean, it's a nice warm
Um,
story so far.
well, my mom was the oldest of six girls, and I mean, everyone in my family was very, very supportive and still are very supportive. I lost my mom 10 years ago, but you know, it really, I have to give her the credit for where I am. She was a very strong woman. She was a very hard worker. She was kind of like, she didn't, obviously adopting a child as a single woman, she wasn't, she didn't take no for an answer. She was just, no, anybody can do it, I can do it too. That was her kind of attitude. So I think that's why where I am, obviously, I think that's where I am, how I got where I am today is through her, really.
So she
And
was.
my, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, well, I mean, she was even very excited about the fact that when I was 21 years old, I was contacted by my birth mother, and it was quite shocking. I always knew I was adopted, of course. And she made it into this cute story, when she got me when I was little, and I was always like like a little gift to her. She really made it a really wonderful story for me growing up. And I always knew I was adopted, but I never ever anticipated meeting my biological family ever. It never crossed my mind. But my biological mother posted an ad in the newspaper on my 21st birthday, and I actually read it back in the day when they posted personal ads in the newspaper, and I just read them out of curiosity, just because some of them were kind of interesting, to say the least. And I came across the ad, and when I read it, I realized instantly that this was my biological mother looking for me. And it took us back. I was actually sitting at my grandmother's at the dining room table having birthday cake for my birthday, and a group of my family was there. There was probably 10 of us. And when I read this, I was speechless. And then I passed it to my mother, and she read it, and she started to cry. And then everybody was wondering what the heck is happening. Like, what did you just read in the newspaper? So, I mean, it kind of, there's been a lot happen in my life since then, from then meeting my biological mother and realizing that I was only one of four children that she had. And I wasn't the first, I was the third child she had, which I think everybody would expect. She was young, had me, and gave me up for adoption when it wasn't the case. She had two children before me, and then another one. And then,
Oh,
oh, how many after that? Like, can
oh,
you hear me?
you're back. Yeah, you froze. Sometimes you freeze for 5-10 seconds, but it's all good. So,
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I met my
wow.
biological, yeah, mom and my two brothers that she had as well. Um, in the next couple of years after that. That was
So
all a big deal.
your biological mom at 21 and learned you had more siblings. And did you had
Hmm.
siblings in Hillsborough as well?
No, no, none.
Okay.
My mom only adopted me. It was just her and I always growing up. It was just her and me.
And I mean,
So
we won't. You sound like you have a very brave mom, and I wonder, like, was there a lot of red tape involved in being the first mother? A lot of hurdles to jump through. Like
you know
it's
what? You know what I think, and this will says a little bit about how society was in the early 70s, in that I was in foster care, which my mom's sister was a foster parent. And there were more than one family lined up to adopt me prior to my mom. And I think that's where the race issue came in, where back then were people really open to adopting a mixed race child. Um, and she was for sure, but there was two families prior to her that I don't know what necessarily happened, but they
sure,
backed out of the adoption. Yeah.
sure. The things you can only wonder about, right? And
Hmm.
yeah, and I mean, regarding your biological mom, there's yeah, that would maybe shock some people, but everyone has their own story, and there's a number of
Hmm.
reasons for everything. Um, wow, what a background story. It's
Oh, I
very
have a book
unique.
in me for sure. Yeah.
I'm sure you do. Yeah, I think that book will need to get written, and this is part of telling that story, right? I think not your first
Right.
time telling your story, but
Mm.
so you had this upbringing in Hillsborough, feeling very supported by your parents, the community, your family members. I've read that you really cherish your Hillsborough classmates, and I think you're still friends with them.
I
Um,
am. Yeah.
that's amazing. That's really the kind of heartwarming thing that maybe not everyone wants to hear. Maybe some people come on here to see the conflict and the racism and the hatred and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
that's not what we're about. We're about trying to tell about what life is like in Atlantic Canada for people with skin that looks like ours. And
Hmm.
these are the stories we hope that future generations will all be telling. So it's great to see those lights shining through among the reality is there's a lot of bad stories too, right?
Right.
So yeah, I cherish that. Uh, but then you got into, so I mean, some people are listening and other people are watching the video. They see the name Harry Ideas Salon there. Not something I talk about very much either. But I own a salon spa, and you own a salon that you have owned for you've been doing hair for 33 years, but you've had the
Yeah.
salon for how long? And
27.
amazing,
27
amazing.
years. Yeah.
Like
Thank you.
how did you get into hair?
You know what? I started doing hair when I was a teenager, really, just fooling around with my friends. And as a teenager, you let your friends cut your hair. I mean, they're crazy. I don't know why they ever would, but you did that when you were a teenager. I even let some of my friends
Of
cut
course you
my
did.
hair.
Yeah,
Of course.
of course.
Yeah.
It's just something you do. It's a way to bond.
Right.
You do that first
Exactly.
haircut on your by yourself when you're 4 years old, and you give yourself a really bad
Right.
haircut, and then you start
You
messing
know what? I
around with your
never cut my
friends. And
own hair. I never cut my own hair when I was little.
oh
It's
yeah,
one thing a lot of kids do, and I didn't. Yeah, I didn't cut my own hair. Good thing, because
okay, okay.
it was not pretty
Um,
when I was little. Yeah.
after you tell me how you, so that's you started cutting hair in high school, and then what?
Well, I actually I when I graduated high school, I was not planning on becoming a hairstylist. Didn't cross my mind. Actually, I went to the University of Moncton, actually, and I took the immersion program, because I wasn't offered French immersion when I was in school. It wasn't available to me. And I had other plans other than becoming a hairdresser. But my two roommates that I had when I was in university, I used to do their hair. And I had one of them just looked at me. She said, I don't know why you don't just do hair. And I never thought of that. And I thought, you know what? Yeah, I don't know why I don't either. Like I've been doing hair forever. I never really thought about it. But and then I went to MBCC actually in St. Andrews, New Brunswick is where I took my training.
Okay.
I don't even think they have
Oh,
that program exists, but
you
yeah,
don't think they
that's
had
where I
what?
trained. I'm not sure if it still exists. I don't
I'm not
think
sure
there's
either.
still a program at MBCC in St. Andrews. I don't know if there's any of the community colleges whether they still have the hairdressing program.
And what
But
were your
it was
two other
great.
career paths? One sec. What were your other possible two career paths?
Well, one was actually a school teacher because my family are all school teachers. They're
That
all
would have been
school
great.
teachers. A
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
them are school teachers, yeah. And I when I was young, I'm like a total nerd when I say this, okay? Because I used to watch, can't believe I'm telling you. I used to
Yes.
watch
Yes.
the House
Okay.
of Commons. I used to watch the House of Commons like and I wanted to be a simultaneous translator. That's what I fascinated by the simultaneous translator. And that's what I thought I wanted to do. Mhm.
That's not nerdy at all.
You don't think
Maybe
that's
some people.
nerdy?
Maybe I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's cool.
No.
There's
Yeah.
tens of thousands of jobs out there. It's interesting. I've never even. It's interesting that you had that thought. I find that fascinating in itself.
I know,
But
right? Like,
amazing. So one sentence in college or university like changed
yeah,
the path, the whole career trajectory of your life. Eh?
yeah, it sure did.
Amazing. Are you still friends with the person?
I don't know. You know what? I don't even know where
Okay.
she is. She was from British Columbia, and she just moved here for a short period of time, and then now I've never seen her since. Yeah,
Wow. One
she went
sentence.
back.
That's so
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
And so like so you have well before one more question. What kind of hair did you have as a child growing up? And in the 70s, without the internet or YouTube or quick 1 minute TikTok videos and black hair salons, how did like my mother is white and she used to do my hair when I was young. She'd cut my afro, she'd give me braids. I think she learned how to, yeah, she learned how to do cornrows. I'm pretty sure she
Oh
lived in
wow.
Jamaica. She lived in Jamaica for 8 to 10 years.
Okay.
When she went down there on a missionary trip in my 20s, met my father. They worked in the same orphanage for a few years. Sparks flew, had my older brothers there. But yeah, but she used to do my hair. Um,
Okay.
and that was a great way for me to bond with my mom. And but like how did your mom deal with your
She
hair in a province and a community where no one had ever seen your kind of hair before?
she really didn't.
Okay.
She
Did you
didn't.
keep it
She didn't,
short or
I kept it short. Yeah, my hair was short. And I mean, I used to have my mother had a little community hairdresser. There was a little community hairdresser. Her name was Andy, and brave Andy cut my hair. She was the one that cut my hair, but kept it very short until I was probably 16. I started to let my hair grow, and my hair is curly, but fairly manageable, really. Now that look at hair like my own, it was just a lot of hair, but it was pretty manageable. So she didn't really have to work as hard at my hair as, my son's is difficult.
yes,
But
yes.
yeah.
So we have typical of what many black, white, interracial kids would have. It's curly hair, but you can brush it. You can brush it straight ish.
Hmm.
I mean, at least to the extent of if you want to, it can it's not like the tightest coily curls. Um, but so you had an amazing mom, and you did miss out on some of the experiences that young Black people get to have with their hair, and you've
Hmm.
clearly, I think, made up for it over the years, and probably have given so many other moms out there that gift for their children. Even growing up in
Right.
Toronto in the 80s, I can tell you, I grew up around every culture on the planet. But even in Toronto, I didn't grow up around any interracial kids. Like, there was no one that was Black and white in the early 80s, even in that city. And now it's a very large population of us. But
Oh, yeah.
super
The landscape
interesting.
has changed for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. And so, because you are half Black, naturally, you must have always had a knack for doing Afro textured hair, and you were just born an expert at it, right?
No, no, I
No?
actually no, because I never had any experience myself. All my surroundings were white, all my friends were white, everybody was white.
Yeah.
So I didn't experience working with Afro textured hair until I was a licensed hairstylist. And that was when it began back, like I started working in 1990. And there were a lot less Black people in the Moncton area, a lot
Hmm.
less. I mean, I remember when when we would see each other, I actually was at a concert at the Coliseum one time, and I met a girl in the bathroom, and she came up to me. She goes, "Where?" She goes, "Oh my gosh, where are all the Black people?" And I said, "They're here. They're just you don't see them." I mean, that
Yep,
was
it's me.
uh,
It's just me.
way before.
Hi,
It's
it's
just
me.
me, right?
Yeah.
Right, just me. That's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't really. I had people coming to me, I think, out of desperation. There's no
Sure.
one. You do hair, and you know how I know that now in hindsight, when I have new clients come in and they see that I am a person of color, there's an instant, um, they instantly relax a little bit to know
Right
that
off the
yes,
shoulders. Yeah.
yes, right off the top, they're like, oh, thank goodness, you actually look like you may be able to manage my hair. So hopefully you can kind of
Hmm.
thing. But yeah, back then and I guess I'm a pretty driven person in that I like to know things. So if I don't know, I'm going to go wherever I need to go to find out what I need to know. And that's what I did early in my career. I traveled and learned as much as I could learn about Afro textured hair.
Yeah. And I can clearly uh, understand why you would need to do that on your own. I can understand back when you would have graduated from Hair Styling Academy.
Hmm.
Um, you know, there were some Black people in Moncton, primarily at UWM. A lot of students from West Africa, a lot of French students from UWM would, but even I think in the late 90s and early 2000s when I came here, they didn't intermingle much in the city. I don't know if
Mm-mm.
they didn't feel very welcome or just a language barrier, or they're in the early 2000s. I saw people walking around downtown Moncton topless with swastika tattoos on their chest, right? So I can understand why some people might not feel comfortable mingling. But yeah, there wasn't as much of a community. Um, but now here in 2020, there's a lot of diversity, a lot of multiculturalism. A lot of people have moved to New Brunswick, tens of thousands of people with curly hair and hair like ours. Not to mention, I would say probably 40% of people with what you could call white skin probably also have some kind of wave or texture or curliness in their hair. Clearly now at the schools in New Brunswick, they're teaching curly and textured hair, right?
Are they? Are they? You know what? I can't say whether they are or they aren't because I'm not in the schools, but I know that not much has seemed to change otherwise.
To our listeners who don't know much about this issue, I'm being highly sarcastic in everything that I say.
Yes.
No, in the province of New Brunswick, given all of those things that I just mentioned, um, you know, a huge number of people with curly textured hair, people pouring in for years now, from many different cultures, a lot of white clients with curly hair and textured hair,
Hmm.
and multiple calls and campaigns and petitions to start making curly hair education mandatory in the province of New Brunswick. Nothing has been done. There's been it is still not taught in hair schools, unfortunately, which is quite upsetting. The last major campaign, I believe, was during 2020. There was a change.org forum filled even, probably, which amassed maybe more than 10,000 signatures. And I'm not on the board of the governing body in New Brunswick that controls the Hair Association, and I don't know if you are. They're called the
I'm not.
Cosmetology Association of New Brunswick, and unfortunately, they have not answered the call to include that as part of the curriculum. Things that are still very important in the curriculum are things like learning how to do perm rods at a very fast rate and things like that. But of course, the schools are not going to teach. They could, but they're not going to teach curly hair curriculum because it's not mandatory and it's not something anyone is tested on or examined for at school. So people who come to this country with curly textured hair have very little places to go, as well as the many people who were born and raised here have nowhere to go. So yeah, I was being
That's
very
right.
sarcastic. It's something
All
that
of what you
has
said.
caused me a lot of stress, something I've spoken out very loudly about. And, I'm tempted to try to join the board in the next couple of years because not enough's
You
being
should.
done. And in fact, there are actions being done that are really counterintuitive and almost oppressive and punishing to people of color who want to work on textured hair. I wanted to say all this first, just so you don't feel like no one's trying to set you up or give you
Okay.
any misquotes here or anything.
No.
It's a problem in this province. So I was kind of making a joke earlier. Like, yeah, certainly either you know how to do the hair or like you learned how to do it in school, and okay, we can put some context for when you went to school, but it's still not happening. And like, how do you feel about that?
Oh, I feel very strongly about that. Very, very strongly about that. Oh gosh, where do I begin? I just had a situation just recently. I don't know if you're aware of this, but I had leased space to a barber, an African barber, in the back of my building.
Okay.
I had a room that I have rented for 15 years. I've had this room rented to several different people. Like I had an esthetician, a nail technician, eyelash technician, all that rented the space separately from my business. They just rented the space. And he came to me and said he didn't have a place to work. And I said, well, I have a room. Just come and work here.
Hmm.
That was last year in July, and he has just moved out because of the harassment that I have gotten from the Cosmetology Association. They
Oh,
insisted
I
that
know what this
he
is.
cannot. First of all, they specifically told me that his clients were not allowed to use my front entrance nor my bathroom. And I said, "Are you kidding me? What?" He's licensed. He's a licensed barber, and they said, "Well, he can't work there." And I said, "Well, he doesn't work for me. He rents the space." And they said, "No, he can't walk it through any of the space in the salon. He can't use my waiting area. He can't." I said, "Well, he has his own waiting area. Can't use my bathroom." I said, "This is about a bathroom." Anyway, that went on from July until just recently, and it just escalated to the fact that first of all, I have a back entrance, and I said, "Fine, his clients can use the back entrance," which I will say every time, because I work in the front of the building and I have a lot of windows near my station, and I can see predominantly Black clients walking in the back door. And every time I saw that, it bothered me that I can't welcome these customers in my front door. I was like, this is so wrong, so wrong. But because they insisted, they came in the back door, which, like I said, went on and on for months and months. And finally, the last email I received said that his customers walked through my shampoo area, therefore he could not be there. So it came down to I was scheduled to go to a disciplinary hearing. I would be disciplined. They would close my salon. they would publicly shame me. These were all the threats. Got calls from a lawyer just because I gave this man a place to work because he was displaced from where he was working before because of the rent increase. I mean, I just wanted to help a brother out, you know what I mean? He's a fantastic barber, and
Yeah.
his services are much needed, as are mine in this community. And you know what? It was really, really nice to have, I don't know, there was, you know what, when you're surrounded by Black people, and I don't know if white people feel this, but there's this sense of family when you're surrounded by Black people. And it was so warm and welcoming. And even my other clients, my white clients, it was just a buzz. There was a buzz in the salon with all this mixtures, and it was fantastic. Which sadly, and I had other people actually message me and say, "Good for you bringing this community together." And I mean, I had no idea that it wasn't permitted. I recognized right away it was a war between associations. It really had nothing to do with, you know, us, although it really felt racially motivated, where, it was it was disturbing for me. It was disturbing for me that I couldn't invite these people of color in my salon where I am a Black business owner.
The irony of it is abhorrent. It's horrible. It's horrible just to see, like, no back door for you.
Yes,
And I
exactly.
mean, I
Exactly.
I'm not gonna reach like that. It felt like a racism thing, and I don't think you're saying it is. I think what listeners may not know is another thing. I told you I wasn't. This wasn't going to be a bashing episode for me, but yeah, there are two associations in New Brunswick: Cosmetology Association, which governs hairstylists, and then the Barbers Association, which governs barbers. And they have this rule where you cannot have a barber and a hairstylist working in the same licensed environment, and it's ridiculous. And many people have brought up the
Absolutely
argument, like, should
ridiculous.
these two organizations even exist? Why can't they be amalgamated into one organization? If they have to be two organizations, why can't they work together? Why can't they're all like government subsidized and funded anyways? Why can't they work
Mhm.
together? Like, yeah. So I like there was that story of ego that had like they somehow had like a double license because they had a wall separating them. Anyways, it's another ridiculous thing, and it's stressful. Um, because you're right, you having that happen, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just the way we always were, or if it's the fact that we're minorities, or it's the same with me in the head nod. Like anytime I see like a Black person, I just have to say hi. But there's
Yeah.
this. I always get this word wrong. There's this sense of camaraderie,
Camaraderie.
camaraderie. In
Camaraderie.
my life, I will never get that right. Camaraderie. Um,
Camaraderie.
that you get from like, hey, welcome, yeah, come into my space. It's this
Mhm.
warm feeling, and Black people are not just one thing. We are from hundreds of countries around the world, like the Caribbean, African countries, America, different places in Canada. There could be second, third, fourth generation, seventh generation. Um,
Mhm.
but still, there's this sense of like fam, and I get that.
Right.
But so double
And I
stress
mean,
is,
a lot of these clients are immigrants. I mean, what a way to welcome the immigrants by making them use the back door. I mean, that that to me is just so wrong. How can we welcome and expect people to intermingle and not,
yeah.
like you said, like they used to, just kind of keep to themselves and keep to their own communities when things like this are happening?
Yeah, so I saw on your Instagram. I'll just share your Instagram quickly. I hope this works. This is our first time using that software. Can we see your page here? Can you see it?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, perfect. Because I lost it. Yeah, so just I don't know if this will help, but anyone who knows
Yes,
anyone looking to rent a room, there's beautiful Hairy Ideas Salon. So that's that option there. That must be really frustrating for you because it
it's
seems like
very
that just
frustrating.
happened. I'm very sorry
It
to hear
did.
that. I'm sure
Mhm.
that I'm sure that'll get picked up very soon because you've got a very beautiful space.
Thank
But yeah,
you.
so I mean, they haven't answered the call to teach curly hair education as of yet. Um,
No.
so you've I've heard this being whispered through the grapevine, and I was so excited when I heard about it. I know that all of my stylists missed well, okay, first of all, so you're doing something about it.
Okay, I am doing something about it. But
What are you
first of
doing
all,
about it? Okay, yeah.
well, firstly, I hosted my first information session. I named it Afro Life, and it's about Afro textured hair. And I also I wanted to educate people, and more than just on hair, but some of the background of Afro textured hair, why we have worn the styles we've worn over many years, like over in history. And a lot of I've had many clients over the years, a lot of mixed race children that people have brought to me. I don't know how to manage this hair. I mean, do I wash it? Simple
Sorry.
questions for
So
me. I
I
mean,
think you froze again. Hopefully not for the viewers, but people come in, they ask you, I'm guessing, what do I do with my
yeah,
child's hair? How do I
what do I
manage it?
do? What do I do with
Using
this hair?
inappropriate
How do I
words,
manage
maybe
it?
that they might be unintentionally offensive towards the child.
Yes,
I think
right.
you cut off, so I'm just guessing some of the things you said, but go
Hmm.
on. Yeah, go on.
Yes, and so this has been happening for years and years and years, and I just decided this year. I said, you know what? I'm just gonna open my salon up and welcome in the community, and I'm gonna sit down and we're gonna just talk about what should you do with your child's hair, your own hair, whoever in your family that needs educated on Afro textured hair. I'm just gonna give, especially for parents, especially for parents with young children that are growing up in a predominantly white community. I mean, it is changing. Definitely, the landscape of the cultures are changing here in the Moncton area, but there's still mostly white people. And I want young Black children to be proud of what they look like, what their hair is like. I want them to embrace and celebrate their hair, regardless of the texture, regardless of, I want them to be able to wear styles that they're proud of. And I wanted to start with parents. And last Sunday was my first open house, so to speak, where I invited people to come in the community, and I had a few people come. Not a lot, but it's only the first time, and I had a great response from the people that were there. Just a couple of hours, we sat down, and actually, where it was a small group, I could do some hands-on stuff and showed them a few quick tips and tricks to help them at home. And like I said, they're easy, really simple things that a lot of people don't know, but it just comes to me naturally because I've been doing hair for so long. But I was just wanted to share that knowledge with them. Now, when I did post the advertisement for this, I had several hairstylists actually reply, and they were interested in learning. Now, I do have, I haven't posted it yet, but I am having a class specifically for hairstylists, um, to teach them everything I know. Look, I am 52 years old, and I am not going to be doing this forever, and I'm going to need some people to come in behind me and still service the clientele that I already have. So yeah, I'm just gonna share my wealth of knowledge with other hairstylists, because you know what, like you said, it's not in the curriculum, and by the way things are going with the Cosmetology Association, I don't know when it'll ever be in the curriculum. So you know what? I'm
Yeah.
just gonna teach it.
If there's one thing I'm going to try to do before I leave this industry, which I read that you fell into this, well, you didn't really fall into it, but I fell into this industry. Before I leave this industry, is I'm going to try to push some change there. And there's been whispers of
Absolutely.
some of us in the industry working together to push for these
Hmm.
things. But congratulations on what you did, and don't sell yourself short. reach one, teach one, right? Even if you had 5 people show up, that's amazing, and it's the first one, so you probably learned a lot. All of my stylists know about it, and you'll know that all 4 of my stylists at my salon have registered with the link that you had put out there. I just didn't see it on the Instagram just now, but registered and are waiting to hear information about the course for cosmetologists that you have upcoming. So really excited about that. They weren't available on February 26th. I don't even know where I was. I think I was in Miramichi for like a New Brunswick Black Summit that weekend. But everyone's registered. And again, I don't speak about my salon a lot, but while we don't have any Black stylists, my wife is Egyptian with really curly hair, or probably like ours. She's very curly hair educated, and while she's not practicing hair anymore, she trained one of our stylists who's a curly girl as well, and who has taken a lot of additional curly hair certification. And then we have another new stylist that went through the Diva Curl training, has curly hair. And so like we take curly hair clients, and for a lot of, but we only offer certain services, and for many of the services that we haven't been able to offer, we are always sending people either your way or to places like Africana. And before we move on from the CA and B, we have to talk about some of the new things they're trying to do to make life harder for people. But again, congratulations for what you're doing. Like, this is exciting and well needed, and no one's doing it to my knowledge. I've been wrong on the show before, but I've yet to hear about it, and hopefully that can grow. Hopefully others of us in the industry can support what you're trying to do, help get the word out there, and hopefully people will come from all over New Brunswick, because it's just not taught. It's not educated at all. And I'd like to play a little 36-second clip that you prepared on the event, so that the audio listeners will your cat, I guess, so for people who are not watching, this cat is all over the place, which is very cute. You just kind of give it a little gentle loving throw, which was really fun to watch. But yeah, and they won't be able to see this video either. They'll just hear music. But we're gonna play a little 30. You want to tell us what the clip is that we're gonna show?
I just made up a clip of all of the hairstyles, and the photos that you'll see are my own. I have not taken them from my own.
So these photos are from things you've done in the salon. Are there any? Are we going to see anything from the class that you gave, or the session that you?
No. These are just photos I wanted to put out there to get people get an idea of some of the things I do, and that I'll show
what's possible.
What's possible? Yes.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna run the clip. Hopefully, it's not too loud in your headphones. Now, hold on. Okay, that's amazing. It's just the same warmth that we get. And again, there's probably a study that can be done on why, but there's so many amazing things you can do with black hair, right? You can do all the things you can do with straight hair, but just so much more. And there's so much. This could be a whole episode, and it will be. There's so much culture and history and pride in hair and stories, and like, every style says something different about the person wearing it, and it's a way to get together, community, everything, just the feeling that it can give. So that's amazing. Thank you for showing that video. And again, I have some more questions to ask you. Keep doing what you're doing, because before we owned the salon spot that we own now, we owned a place in Glamour. We owned a place in the mall, a franchise called Glamour Secrets. And I can't tell you, it's heartbreaking. I can't tell you how many moms would come in. No disrespect to them, but like with their little children in front of them, like interracial black kids, white and black kids mixed, and just like, I don't know what to do with her hair. It's so nappy. Like, I don't understand it. Like, should I just cut it off? Like, how do I do this? It's so, like, I don't know the words they're using, but it's like the kids right in front of them, and it's like, it's it's so wiry, it's so this, and that's a controversial word that we can use and other people can't. But
Yes.
my whole point is like, should I just cut it off? Like, can I get a chemical relaxer? Like, people ask me about a
Mm,
chemical relaxer to straighten a 6-year-old's hair, which I mean,
right.
no one should be getting
Terrible.
a chemical
No.
react. Okay, I didn't know your opinion on that. No one should be
No,
getting a
not
chemical
no.
relaxer in 2023. Like, there's other, if you want to smoothen your hair, there's other ways to do that. It's just so damaging. But that is going to continue happening in a province where the reality is we have a lot of immigration coming in, and people are going to connect interculturally. There's no
Mhm.
way. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, regardless of what parents of newcomers might want. I mean, that's fine. That's natural. Like, in a province where visible minorities make up probably less than 5% of the population, these children are going to connect with people of other cultures and have kids that have hair that look like ours. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
and again, the sense of weight being lifted off someone's shoulders when they come in. Uh, we want our kids to know that they can go places and have people understand their hair, and not let them feel ashamed for it, and
And
yeah,
that's
and just
one
be
of the
proud of it. Yeah.
things that one of the first things I made a point of whenever, and I mean, no disrespect to these mothers that really have no idea how to manage this hair. It's just all needs to be learned. So, but the narrative I changed immediately, and I always would really celebrate these, especially the little girls. I'm like, wow, look at your hair.
Hmm.
I wish my hair was like yours. Because they've been told for so long, oh, your hair's so awful. It's so hard to manage. It's so tangly. It's so nappy. It's so frizzy and unmanageable, and all negative, negative, negative.
Unmanageable. Yeah, that one hurts.
Mhm.
Yep. Go on.
Right?
Go on. Sorry.
And
Go on. Yeah.
that's the first thing, and it's amazing to see when you change. I mean, we as women, we know that your your outlook can totally change when your hair looks great. I mean, you feel so much better when your hair looks great. It's no different for these young girls, especially when they're kind of like told that it's awful. How can they have any confidence? How can they go to school with surrounded by other children and feel confident when they're told all the time their hair is so terrible? So I have seen the look on young girls' faces when I finish their hair, and they just are look elated because. And I've the whole time told them how fantastic their hair is. And look, you know what? Your hair will do this, and your friends will not. But lucky for you, you have this hair that you can have this fantastic style. And I mean, that's what I want. I want people to celebrate. And you know what? I'll have to say, one of the girls in my class last weekend in the information session, she messaged me this week, and I thought it was so sweet. She sent me a picture of just this two-strand twist she put in her little girl's hair. One, she was so proud of it. And the other, the little girl has such a smile on her face. She was 8 years old, and her mom is white, and she's adopted, and her mom was really trying hard to learn how to manage her hair. And just that, to me, was worth it. It was worth doing that session just for that, to see the look on this little girl's face, and that her mom could actually do this to her hair. It just made me feel so good
That's
afterwards.
that's what I'm saying. I know you weren't trying to sell yourself short, but you're like, only a few people showed up. That if you
Yeah,
just change
it
that one
was
family's life, there's no way that could have been a waste of your time. And if you keep
exactly.
doing
It
it,
definitely wasn't
the
a waste of
word's
my
gonna get
time.
out. I think it's gonna, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that it's only white moms that don't know how to do their kids' hair, because there
No,
are unique situations in which maybe a black woman would need help doing
it's
her daughter's hair,
look,
depending on how she grew up, right? So
it's
it's for
no
everybody,
different.
for
It's
everybody.
no different.
Yep.
It's no different from white. People think that just like white hair, no, all black hair is not the same.
Absolutely
And
not.
just like white moms that can't manage their white children's hair, there are black moms that can't manage their black children's hair. I mean, it's like you say, it's not just for the white mothers with mixed race children. It's not just that. There's a lot of people that would like to learn. And you know what? That's the other thing, sharing my knowledge with other hairstylists. Yes, there may not be a lot of Black hairstylists in this area, but I want that to change. Also, I want people of color to recognize that there's also you don't
Mm,
have to go to a person of color for
I'm still here.
your if so there you don't
Yeah.
have to go like, I mean, you can go to a white hairstylist if she's educated and she knows how to manage your hair or he knows how to manage your hair, you know? Um,
Yeah.
I want that to kind of I want to change that as well,
That's
I
amazing.
guess.
Yeah, no, yeah, my camera sometimes cuts out.
I was like,
Working on that.
"Hello."
I'm still here. I'm still here. So we've got about 10 minutes left because we
Okay.
always have to try to keep these under an hour. Um,
Hmm.
but you've been on an amazing journey in this town. I read that you purchased the building you are in, which is like that is like next level accomplishment. That's really impressive. I must have been like a
Yeah.
pinnacle of success. Yes, that's good. Is it scary? Is it?
Yeah, it was scary because I was single and I recognize there's a lot that comes with owning a building, especially an older building, an older home like I'm in.
Oh
So
yeah.
it was a little bit scary, but my mother was still around pushing me to do things I didn't want to do back then, which I'm thankful to her to this day. Now that the market has changed, I'm so thankful that I bought a house way back in 2007 and not right now. But
Amen.
yeah, it was
Amen.
a big
Yeah.
deal. It was a big deal to have and being a single mom have I like it's nice that I can work somewhat from home, I guess, so to speak. Because he
Oh,
could come
interesting.
home and he can be in the salon and yeah, exactly. I'm right
Oh,
here.
I didn't know that. Okay, you live in.
Yeah, I live on
Oh, that's
the
dope.
top
It's so
three
nice.
floors. There's three floors and I live upstairs and the salon's down on the main floor. Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
No, that's
that's
fine.
convenient.
Mm.
That's nice.
It was very convenient when my son was young. It was really helpful that I could be right here when he comes home from school and yeah,
All right, so
worked out
like
well for us.
stories of accomplishment, like you just having the right mentality and the proper support systems, and just zeroing in on something, finding the niche, self-educating yourself a lot, uh,
Yes.
and still
I
being where
traveled
you
a
are,
lot.
like to
And I
learn.
still
Yeah,
educate myself. I still
yeah, of
continue to
course.
educate myself. I'm just like, I don't think we can ever stop learning. There's always something to learn.
Okay. We only, yeah, like I just mentioned, I want to ask
Yeah.
you a couple, like
Mhm.
what you, off the top of your head, have you reflected, like what's your biggest high, or what's your lowest low, uh, over the past couple decades of
Sadly,
being a
this lowest
hairstylist and
lowest
salon owner?
probably was this past experience with the Cosmetology Association. That's been very discouraging. But my highest high, and I wish I had written it down actually when it happened, but I remember the day that I recognized that my schedule was only Black clients. My whole day was only Black clients, and that to me was like a big deal, a big deal for me. I felt so excited about not I mean, not to diminish my other clients for
No,
sure,
you're
but
not.
it
You're
was
not.
like the community had grown so much, and I couldn't believe that I had 1 full day, only Black people.
Yeah, if there's anyone who would be offended by that, there's something they're not understanding, and it's
Right.
just the sense you get from serving the community and knowing that when you started in an industry where there weren't many people at all that look even remotely like you, it's a sign that the cities
Mm.
you've grown, your words getting out there, and a sign that the city has grown. It's changed. Um,
Definitely has. It
I'm sorry.
definitely
There's a comfort that comes from, now we are all humans. We are all equal, but we come from different cultures, and we're different in other ways, and we all belong here. But there is this feeling that you get from looking around and seeing people that look like you. That I think
Mhm.
the visible majority, that's all they
Mm.
know. So they could take that for granted.
Mhm.
Wow, wow, what a neat high point. I like that.
Yeah.
What was COVID like for you?
Oh, COVID was terrible.
A thing that we don't
COVID
even
was
think about
terrible.
anymore, right? Yeah.
No, COVID was actually, you know what? I shouldn't say it was terrible. It
Because there was
was
some highs.
really difficult to
Yeah.
be out of work. Um, I did learn a little bit about myself, and that I'd always consider myself an introvert. And I realized that I don't think I'm as much of an introvert as I thought, and that I couldn't stand being stuck at home all the time by myself. And I really realized that I think my interaction with clients fulfilled all the social that I needed. And then when I didn't have it, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't stand myself right now. And so for me, it really changed how I did business, because I'm not a person that just sits idle. I have a hard time to just sit idle. So I needed something to do. And I really kind of then is when I poured into social media, which
Yeah.
has really exploded my business. So yeah, I guess there's definitely been positive to COVID. It was challenging at the time to get through COVID, and everybody was really nervous about it. And, it was really, I mean, and, when anybody's messing with your income, it makes you uneasy. And
Yep.
we didn't know how long it was going to last. So, it was,
Nope.
it was difficult, but there were definitely good things that came from it.
Yeah, everyone in the services industry was kicking their butt, kicking
Yes,
themselves in the
right.
butt, being like, "Why did I get
Right.
into this?"
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was rough. But you also, I asked because I heard a story about, like that's when you started putting yourself out there more, and
Hmm.
that's when the word
Hmm.
grew more about what you were doing. Because it's very
Right.
easy to live in like a silo, like your own little vacuum or bubble here in Moncton, even though we're not a huge city. But you put yourself out there, and people were like, "Oh," like even Hillary said that. Like she's like, "Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
know." Grew up my whole life down the street from a black hairstylist that could have possibly helped me do something with my hair.
Right.
Um, so
Exactly.
interesting. So,
Hmm.
you know, the other thing I also heard you say on a different interview is that, you know, well, actually, that made me think of a story. But yeah. So hair salons don't have to be in competition with each other, and it's a growing city. The population keeps growing. We're stronger when we work together. There are a lot more black-owned barbershops. I don't know if there's any other. Now, we are not a salon spa that and neither are you, but that focuses primarily on black clients. Although we do have a number of black clients, East Indian clients, Filipino clients, and that is growing. But one of my COVID things that kind of upset me is that I constantly saw all these posts like "we are all together," "we are all one," yada yada. But then very quickly, what I saw happening on social media were all these salons. I'm gonna get myself in trouble here. Banding together, doing group projects together, contests, like things like that. And I don't know if it's because I'm male or something else, but no one reached out to my salon about that. Like the whole like "we are all one" salon concept. And I don't know the kind of reception you got, but that was a weird thing with COVID for me.
Yeah. You know what? Now that I didn't think about that, but yes, I think that I was only involved in one of those, like, share blah 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 and get in a contest to win stuff. I mean, but it was because it was the girl that was working with me at the time.
Okay.
Um, yeah, like the girl that was renting my space, actually, she was an eyelash technician, and she had done it and included me in it. So, but yes, I wasn't, no one reached out to me either to share in those small business joint ventures. Um, and maybe I find a lot of makers kind of came together, and but no, we didn't really. Our small businesses didn't, as salons didn't come together, and we should have. And I really like you said, you had heard me say before that I'm not in competition with anyone, and I welcome getting to know other salon owners, and just getting together and sharing ideas and sharing our knowledge, and
Well,
doing what we have to do to make this change, make some changes with our
absolutely.
organization.
I know I've been wanting to do that with you for a while, and this is the first step for sure.
Yes.
Meeting on the show like this, and we'll keep in touch. So we only have a minute or two left. Well, for the people watching, I'm going to throw up your website. Why don't you let anyone listening know how to get in touch with you if they have questions, want to register for the course, if they want to try to book into your salon? I think it's you and a couple other hairstylists.
Yes, me and a couple other hairstylists, but actually, my website is predominantly just my booking page, and
Okay.
the best way to get in touch with me is through social media, either my Facebook, Harry Ideas Facebook page, or Instagram. That's the easiest way to get in touch with me. If you have questions, if you're interested in learning more about the courses, like the session, the community session, or the uh, training session for hairstylists or licensed cosmetologists, any of that, you want to
Yeah.
contact me and ask me. Yeah, that's the best way to get
Perfect.
me.
Okay, we're gonna wrap up. We have 30 seconds. Thank you so much for being on the show.
You're
To all
welcome.
of our
Thank you.
listeners, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share this video, share the audio with your friends.
Yeah.
So Lucinda from Harry Ideas Salons, Black-owned salon in the Greater Moncton area for going on 3 decades. And okay,
Yes. Thank you,
thank you.
Clinton.
Yeah.
Thank you,
So,
BlackLantic.
all right. Don't get off yet, but I'm gonna end the recording.